Larry Beinhart wrote this brilliant piece. You can see it over at alternet.com. And it's called Tax Cuts, the BS and the Facts. And this is the stuff. I have been preaching this on this radio show for the better part of six. Well, we're in our 6th year. And I wrote about this in my book, Screwed. And this is one of the best summaries I have ever seen. He did in 3 pages what it took me a whole chapter to do. The realities. The brute facts are these, Larry Beinhart writes. First of all, he has this quote from George W. Bush, right? He says, yes, tax cuts allow people to keep more of their own money. Therefore, they have more to invest and spend in the economy, and they have more money to start businesses and create jobs. I think, that's from Yahoo Answers, actually, that right-wing crapola. But here's what George W. Bush says. He says, I think when people take a look back at this moment in our economic history, they'll recognize tax cuts work. They've made a difference. Well, here's the reality, the brute facts. Large income tax cuts are always followed by a bubble and then a crash. 1. 2. High income taxes correlate with economic growth. In other words, as income taxes go up, economic growth goes up. Income tax increases are followed by economic growth. Moderate income tax cuts are followed by a flat economy. All this is especially true as applied to the top tax rates. Okay? And here's the examples. The 3 great tax cuts that we've had since the beginning of the 20th century. In the last 100 years. Herbert Hoover. During World War I, the top marginal tax rate went up to 73%. In 1922, Republicans took control of the House and Senate and the presidency, and they began cutting taxes. They cut the tax rates down to 56%, then down to 46%. Then in 1925, they cut income taxes down to 25%. Below 30%, just like Reagan did, below 30%. The stock market took off. There was a boom, but the boom was a bubble. It was followed by the great crash of 1929. Bank failures in the Great Depression. Then came Reagan. From Roosevelt's second term all the way through Jimmy Carter, 1936 to 1982, the top rate was in the 70 to 92% range. Then came Reagan in 81. In 82, he cut that to 50%. The economy immediately went into the worst recession since the Great Depression. Why? Because Reagan cut taxes. His supporters argued it was all Carter's fault and that the new policies would take time to work. The tax cuts stayed in place. By 1987, there was another round of tax cuts. They took the top rate down to 38.5%. They said it would stimulate the economy, right? Sorry, there was a boom, but it was a bubble. And in October of 87, by the end of that year, there was another crash, the worst since 1929. We still call it Black Monday. Much of the bubble money had gone into, real estate. Suddenly there were bank failures, more than during the Great Depression. Savings and loan crisis. We had to have a bailout. That's what happened during the Reagan years in the 80s. Now comes George W. Bush, Bush 2. He comes in with the healthiest, most powerful economy in American history, immediately cuts taxes. Top marginal rate down from 39 to 35%. Also cuts capital gains taxes, cuts inheritance taxes. What happens? An immediate recession. But he persists. But the economy doesn't grow much. It's essentially flat. And then there's a crash and bank failures and a bailout. On the other hand, every time taxes have been raised, whether it was World War II, 41 to 45, tax rates was 88 to 94%. What happened? The economy boomed. Under Truman and Eisenhower, the tax rate up to 92%, the economy boomed. Clinton raised taxes, the economy boomed. Roosevelt raised taxes, the economy grew. Tax increases are followed by economic growth. 3 of the 4 high-growth periods in the last 100 years have immediately followed significant tax hikes. And the 4th, in the Truman-Eisenhower years, began with a top tax rate of 91%. They didn't need a tax hike.